Okay, do I have everyone's permission to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to cover some things that came out from Elementary Academic Services yesterday. So K through 2, you will have big picture unit plans for math and reading for the rest of the year. Yay! They are emphasizing make sure you're using the elementary curriculum landing page, not going through WebDesk to the curriculum planner because there are errors in there. Everything is correct on the landing page. They want that one-stop shop. Math, Ginger said please don't teach the kids tricks. It isn't so much applicable in the lower grades, but just remind them that these are patterns, relationships that we want to teach them, not tricks to understand how to do it. And then you guys don't take the science map, so this doesn't apply to you. So those are just some need to knows from the EAS department. Yes?
Can you go, what do you mean by that, go through that page?
So you know the elementary
Yes.
curriculum
Yes.
landing page? That's where they want you going to access all of your curriculum planner, all of that.
So not go old school?
Yeah, don't go old school because there's some errors in that one. Things aren't linked correctly, but everything is correct in this. And you can even create a tile on your web desk that can take you straight to that. Okay, so our agenda today is we're going to look at a report in NWEA. I'm going to pull school profile. I think, Elena, you'll be able to view this as team leader, but the rest of you will only be able to go into class profile, and that's because we're going to look at who our quintile 1 kids are. Does everyone know who quintile 1, what that means? 80th percentile and above. Okay. Then we're going to go into MAP. I'm going to show you one report. It might not be so beneficial in first grade just because of the lack of data, but it's a 3-year history on assessment data. And then we'll go into MAP, and this is where Elena is team leader. You are going to create the spreadsheet that has the does not meets for both reading and math. We'll capture those bubble kids and approaches. I've got the cut sheet. And then we're going to look at how would we write a goal for those kids. We are not writing the SSPs today. We're going to write them in 2 weeks with you guys. Give you time to M-class your kids because we want to consider M-class data, not just base everything on MAP. Okay. Our action steps today will be to identify our Quin 1 students, our quintile 1 students, write them down, or just know how to access them so that we provide enrichment for them. We will identify our tier 2 students, create a list, and then we're going to compare that to the watch list that kindergarten gave you, just to make sure we're not missing anybody. They might have been on a watch list last year, but are in approaches and they didn't show up. We want to make sure we catch them, and then we will identify a tier 2 goal, but we are not writing their student support plan today. Okay? We good on that? All right, so we're going to start with our collaborative team framework. This has changed. So, you know, it used to be cyclical and it had 5 questions. Well, we have taken away those numbers, and we're starting off with who are your students. So that's just getting to know them. We're going to be in the yellow question. This is where we are going to look at assessment data and then determine who are we going to intervene with and what are we going to intervene with. Okay? Any questions before I move on?
No, I'm really proud of myself for highlighting the correct question on the agenda.
Yes, good job. And I corrected those agendas because they didn't have the questions, and so I wrote the ones in for the new ones. And I apologize, I got to log in. It kicks me out after every group that comes in here. Did I write that right? Okay. So I'm going to first take you through this, and then I have brought my timers, and I'm going to give you guys time to get in there and kind of mess with it. So you're going to use the tile on your web desk that says MAP. I know there's a few. There's like an NWEA, and then there's a MAP one. So if I go into MAP growth, I'm going to select school profile. Again, I only think that Alana might have this view. Jennifer might have this view as well. It's the entire school. So this tells us our quintiles for all of the grade levels. So you can see K through 5 right here. There's a key underneath to help you know what we're looking at is blue. Blue is our quintile 1 students. So if I click on first grade, look at this. These are the kids you inherited. Okay, so this is not a judgment, this is not an evaluation, these are the kids that are coming into you. You haven't given them much instruction yet. What this is going to do is inform you on how to instruct these kids. Y'all have a pretty high group coming in. You have 61% in quintile 1. That's awesome, right? So look, you got 85, you're in the 85th percentile right here. So if I click on first grade, and it defaults to math right away, so just know that. You are gonna see yourself multiple times here. That's because in your grade book you have literacy, you have science, you have math, but it'll be the same across it. So Holly, that's Elevate, so don't look at that one right here. But then look at your individual, just pick one of your rows, and look how you're doing. I mean, you're all blue, right? So what this tells me is I need to do a lot of enrichment, right? I've got a lot of high kids, I got a lot of quintile 1, we gotta grow them, I need a lot of enrichment. I mean, Julie, you don't even have any kids in the red. So that's awesome. Now this is just math we're looking at. So if I click over to reading, and I'm gonna give you guys time in just a second to look at this.
Class, not the subject. So I saw literacy and I was like, oh no, that's great.
Yeah, it's
Can you go
because
back
of
to
your
math?
roster.
Go back to math.
Go back to math.
Okay. I'm trying to.
Yeah,
So
because
is it-
we can't get
It's
that.
confusing because it shows every single thing in your grade book, but this is your math scores. So,
So at
don't pay
homeroom
attention to that.
or
Your homeroom.
High
Yes,
school.
your
So
homeroom.
it's the same.
It's
Okay.
the same.
So-
I
Yes,
have,
it's gonna be the
That's
same,
why
like
it's
if you
on
look,
there.
Rachel, you're 81 here, 81 here is the
Yeah.
same, because it's just giving it for every single one in there. So do you want me to stay here?
yeah, I can't, I don't have access to this. So,
Okay.
or like the school profile.
Okay.
We've got class profile, I've got class and
Okay.
student, but
I
it's
was
school.
just looking to see where the lowest kids are sitting, so it looks like we got my class.
So look, I can click on that, it's gonna tell you the kid right there.
Feels like I've got one, I think.
Yeah.
In
And
math.
since we're being recorded, let's be careful about using children's names
Okay.
just for privacy purposes. But yes, so in this you can do it. I don't know if you can do it in the class profile, but let's all jump into map.
And if y'all really haven't used the MAP website, like the tile, that's the only one I use. When
Yeah,
I'm
me
going in,
too.
like looking at their student profiles and stuff, because
Yeah.
it's so user friendly,
Yes.
and I love it.
Okay, so you're gonna click on class profile. It should be one of like the frequently used right on your dashboard. And then you would enter in your information across the top.
Class profiles.
Mm-hmm. So for the purposes of this, I'm just gonna pull up Alana's class so that we can talk about it, but I want you to pull up your class.
For math.
Mm-hmm. So just let it be homeroom, it'll default to homeroom. Let's look at math first, and then hit update. Your view is gonna show all these tiles first, keep going down. And then you're gonna see their percentile, and if you click on this, you can actually see all of your quintile 1 kids right at the top. This is not a good report to print or export. It doesn't look pretty. The advice from the RP department is to screenshot it if you wanna see them. So, but like, I would just like screenshot this group right here, and I know this is my quintile 1 kids, and that's who I'm gonna give enrichment to in math.
Mine isn't bordered that way.
Did you
So
click the column
So it, yeah, so.
Click
it-
the
Oh,
column?
got it.
like that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry,
You
Julie.
gotta scroll too, cause ours, there's some other stuff in front of it before you get down to that, so you gotta
Yes.
keep scrolling a little bit.
So go to, and I'm gonna set like a 5-minute timer to let you guys just play in that. You wanna screenshot it, you wanna email it to yourself. Oh, you're good, you're right there. So that's math, okay.
So sorry, I haven't done this in a minute. Can you explain what, if it says 98 for 42nd, what is that pertaining to?
Okay, so this is a nationally normed test.
Okay.
So look, there's a key down at the bottom and it shows you their percentile key.
Right.
So this is in comparison to an average first grader nationwide. Am I saying
Okay.
that correctly? Average first grader nationwide, yes. And so that's where they're getting their quintile.
What is that 98th would mean, and then 98th?
98th percentile of first graders
Mhm.
in the United States.
Of all the first graders in the
They're in
United
the
States,
top
they are in the top
98%.
98%. So like, I think of like my
Of
kid,
100.
like, so when
Yes.
your niece goes in
Yes.
for her well checks and they're like,
I think
she's in the,
weights.
yeah, she's
Yes.
in the 75th percentile, she is like of the average kid her age.
75, okay.
She's
so
in the top 75% of.
if they were 42, that means of the group of first graders, 42,
But not
Percent.
Han, we're talking, this is a nationally normed
Uh-huh.
test.
but
Yes.
42%
Yes.
of first graders scored the way they did.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yes.
yes, you understand it correctly.
I just want to be able to explain it to parents because, you know, if I don't get the terms, they're not going to. Average first graders. And you said across the district, the country.
The country, yeah. That's why we have different accommodations for math than we do for other tests, just because it's nationally normed.
Awesome. So we're just making our little.
Just make
Groups.
note of who those quintile 1 students are, because they are students who typically show the least amount of growth or don't meet their projected growth. And we wanna make sure that we're providing them intervention. It also captures a lot of your emergent bilinguals as well. They tend to be quintile 1 and 2 students. So just knowing them, you know, we tend to focus on our strugglers the most, but it's good to just know in your head who these quintile 1 students are. Yes.
So I'm trying to like order it by quintile,
Mm-hmm.
but they're like.
I
it's not
don't.
like he's in the middle and he's the second like.
I click on this one.
the-
I don't know
Gotcha.
how to. I
Okay.
don't know what that means.
I
That's
got
It's
you.
a range, I think, of their score.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That, there it is, that's the order.
So the easiest for me was just to like shrink my screen down, screenshot it, and like save it on my drive somewhere, so I just knew. And then, you know, like on your roaming clipboard, maybe they're highlighted or something, an indicator so that you know. And during our INE time from 8 to 8:30, this is your enrichment group. You know, got a couple more minutes to
In
dig
the,
into that.
that data document that I shared with you.
Yes, it
Um,
matches.
It matches, yeah,
Yeah.
so it, like, I put their quintiles in there too, so let me see.
And ideally, they shouldn't move quintiles. If they do, that's concerning, right? If they were to like drop down in
Yeah, we
quintile.
want them to
Yeah,
move
you want
out
them
of
to
it,
move up,
but we don't want them to
But
move
like
down
if you
in
see
quintile.
them, that's a red flag if they drop down, right?
Yep.
I just don't have any 4s.
I don't either, I think I might have one. I have 1 4.
I have
You mean
5.
quintile 4s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
I have 1, 2, 3,
The
and
orange?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. You guys have inherited a high performing group of kids.
Well, and what I'm noticing too is this, it's been a minute since Matt has lined up with M-Class, has lined up with, like, we did the spelling inventory this year to see kind of how that's tracking from kindergarten to year, and like, their spelling inventories are matching up with their map data, like, it's, everything's working together instead of having these big discrepancies in, well, they're scoring up here on map and then they're doing over here, down- like, you've got your outliers, but it's seeming to be more consistent.
So reflect on last year. I know 3 of you were on the team last year, and just like what you were doing last year to support that group, what would you have to do differently to support this group that you're inheriting, since they are a high performing group? What instructional changes and adjustments will you make for this group, right?
And that's where we can play with the INE time.
Yes. We can talk a little bit about that at the end. I know Denise is giving a little bit of grace with implementation of that, since we are just right now wrapping up beginning of year math, and then also M-Class has just opened. That's why we're not writing any SSPs for 2 weeks to give you time to M-Class, because we want to consider that information as well, since that's a little more in-depth
Yeah.
and more detailed. But this will give you a good start, right?
And the AMC window opened
Yes,
yesterday
oh, it
too,
did?
so.
Okay, good. All right, are we ready to move on?
To read it.
Okay. All right, so now we are,
Jonas,
you want to look at reading for a little bit?
It doesn't matter the
Oh.
order.
No.
I thought we were doing.
Well, I was just gonna move on to the next report, but I can give you a couple more minutes if you want to look at your
Yeah,
reading.
can-
Yeah, absolutely.
sorry.
No, that's
I was
fine.
supposed to do that.
that's pretty good.
I'm so old school. I like writing it down.
I feel like it sticks to memory more if I write their name.
It sticks to my memory, but I just lose it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I have to, this has been the best way for me to just keep up with everything. so that I'm not constantly searching for where I wrote it down, because that's.
My roaming clipboard had multiple sheets. I mean, it had a roster, it had my groups, it had like accommodations, it had everything, because clipboard just went with me wherever I went. And so I'd have these kids on my clipboard too, just so I always was in the back of my mind who I needed to enrich with.
Do you think you could share first grades reading so I could write down
Yes.
how many you have like as a grade level?
It's weird, it says language arts, but.
Oh, yeah, that is, so that we can,
So you guys have 11 students?
that's just mine still.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, I need to go back to the, school profile. Thank you for putting that out.
You're welcome.
I was like, 11, that's not a lot, when we
I
just
wish I
said.
had access, man.
I don't think the other team leaders did either.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, yeah, don't. Okay, so we're gonna look at first grade. If I click on the blue, you have, it doesn't give me a student count, but this is all your kids right here.
It says 60, does it say 65?
Well, it's a percentage, so I guess if you wanted to figure out the percentage,
It's
you have
65.
55 of 67%. But also, look at this. It's gonna give me their indicators.
Mm-hmm.
So look, gifted, you should look, there's some eco disc kids that are popping up in quintile 1.
Yeah.
You know, that's awesome, we wanna keep them there.
Can you go down to the classes?
Yes.
That ego, just the top is surprising to me.
Yeah. Cool.
Just that particular student.
Okay, so then we got Elena's 85, 87, 85. Wow, we're all very similar.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a high performing grade level. And just even in comparison, like, to when we were back here, did you get that all down before I switched?
Yeah.
Like, look at the rest of the school, like, first grade is, majority of students are in quintile 1 in first grade. So let's keep that momentum going as they move through the year. Okay. Next report is gonna be in EduGents. The first report I'm gonna show you, I don't want you to get into, because there might really not be, there's not gonna be a lot there for you right now as first graders at the beginning of the year. So in EduGents, when you open it, it'll look like this. I call this the waffle. And if I click on reports, anything map related is going to be, Plano assessments. So that's where I'm gonna go if I wanna pull anything about map. First thing I wanna show you is the student assessment history. So what this will do, it will pull a report for 3 years of assessment history on all of the students. Well, you guys don't have STAR. You co-guide in first grade, but we haven't done that yet. So you aren't gonna have that, well, you at least won't have that yet, but that'll be. Now you will have MAP from kinder and first if they were here in kindergarten. So it is, I like this because one, it's color coded to the does not meets, approaches, master, or meets masters. But also, like, if I see a kid who was green and then now they're blue, or I see a kid who was blue and then now they're red, that's concerning if that's how they were the year before and their scores are changing. So this is just a good report if you kind of want to see history on your students and their data.
Does it have like a key for the color codes? Like,
Well,
'cause like
so
blue and green to me, I'm like those.
does not meets is red,
Right, okay, that
purple
makes
is approaches,
Okay.
blue is meets, green is
sense.
masters.
Masters. Okay.
Yes. So it matches that river in the
Oh,
map.
duh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just, I'm gonna kind of breeze over this one. Elena, this is the next one where you'll be creating reports. So, we're gonna go back to
Write it down.
the dashboard,
Okay.
and we're gonna click on map right here. So if you guys can follow along with me on this, but Elena's gonna be pulling together your Excel spreadsheet that you'll work in. So fill in pond,
Wait, mine looks different than yours. Map on the side.
yes, map on the side. You might have different things up here than I do.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm not gonna select teacher or class. Leave the year is 2025. It doesn't make sense now. It makes sense in the second semester. It is the year that the school year ends in.
Mhm.
And then we'll just do math first since it's right here. Grade level kinder.
Kinder or first?
I'm sorry, I said kinder, but I clicked first. So again, here's your quintiles And funny thing is, they're not the same colors that NWEA gives you. So very confusing because it's now showing quintile 1 is green and blue is what they are in NWEA. So you can see math and reading is both here. If you want to see your list, you just click on the blue people. And there's your entire first grade list, which can be exported to Excel. So that's what you'll need to export. So looking at this, I have their RIT score, their percentile, their projected growth, their quintile. Again, you will not have a star projection. But then what I love about this is, look, it tells you, are they low, low average, average, high, high average
That's cool.
for the different strands. So that's another way you could group them too within those strands. So while you're doing that, Elena, I'm just gonna keep taking them.
Okay.
So
Because I went through yesterday and like put in, I thought I ran some reports, but there weren't the right ones. I'm gonna go fix it real quick.
Well, I just got training on this yesterday, and it was not the way I was gonna lead this, and so I'm kind of glad I got this training.
Yeah.
It's gonna take you guys in a different way. But if you export that right there into your spreadsheet, and then do the same for reading,
Yes.
but you guys can go ahead and pull your class if you want to. What Elena is gonna do is gonna put it into a spreadsheet, and she's gonna sort by RIT score, and we're gonna look at those kids that are does not meets right across the top, and then we're gonna capture the bubble kids too and just highlight them so that we know who they are. So I'll give you guys a few minutes if you wanna play in that and just look around while Elena formats the reports.
I liked how you showed us the maps, like history.
Mm-hmm.
The top score is their overall score, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a way we can?
So it's like previous year, and then the P1 is the, I'm not quite sure how they have it named, but that's 3 years. So
Okay.
MR, I think, is most recent, if I think that's what it's saying.
Yeah, because it says fall.
Mm-hmm.
Most recent.
And then it's like previous, and then previous one or something.
When you unplug the laptop, everything.
Yes.
And so that was my slides with our cleanup song. And just great star presents. Okay, so there's my.
Elena, can you give me a time? How much time?
22.
Awesome. Okay.
Sorry.
We got plenty of time.
This needed to be on 25.
Yes.
No, sorry.
Did it not default to that?
No.
Well, it was always confusing to me because I was like, no, it's 2024, and I wasn't thinking like the end of the year is the year that we put in there.
Well, I remember when they changed that too, because when I first started in the district, it wasn't that
It used to
way.
be
And
the
then
year.
the year
Mhm.
that you started, and then we were all trying that next year, and then, oh
Yeah,
no,
so just-
JK.
Oh, it's
Change
down
that for
here.
you.
I see. Okay. So if you pull that assessment history for like 5th grade, does a lot show up?
Yes. So the upper grades, that's really a report they want to use because they'll have all that data. They'll have 2 years of COGAT, they'll have 2 years of STAR in 5th grade, and they'll have 3 years of MAP. So that's a report they use. I just wanted to show it to you guys. But yeah, I know Kinder, I was like, we're not even going to look at this report because they don't have any data in there really. But it's nice to see COGAT sitting right next to their MAP scores. You know, because you can see like if they're an 8 or 7, 8, 9, well, we should see them performing pretty high in MAP.
Well, and just like the difference between one summer,
Mhm.
their kindergarten scores and their beginning of the year scores are at least a 15-point difference,
Mm-hmm.
which is wild.
Yeah.
They grow a lot in the summer.
What is this?
got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it's,
No,
it's
you're
a little
fine.
work, and then you gotta like format the columns.
See, and I'm not even touching that.
What I do want you to do is sort it by RIT, because we're gonna look at the cutoffs so that you guys can highlight the kids.
Okay.
We want to sort it from lowest to high, and then add a column for BOY tier 2 goal, because we're gonna go into a report that will show that too.
Okay. Can you see the one that I made, or?
Yes, I can bring it up.
Okay.
Do you want me to bring it up? I was gonna show you the cut sheets. So this is the revised cut sheets for this year. I like them because they're color-coded to match how they performed. So approach is purple, meets blue, masters green. And we're gonna look at all of the does not meets kids, and then we're gonna kind of dip a little bit into approaches, because if they're on that border, that might be one question away from being a does not meets kid. And we wanna make sure we're giving them intervention.
Did you share that with us?
This is on the drive, it's on the, it's
Oh, the
for
Han?
everyone. No, not Han, it's just like out there for anyone. So if you search teacher overview of MAP, you should find it. It's also on the Harpy website, but I can share it with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Cause I have one from like a year
Yeah,
ago.
normally they just update the same document, but what I have found is they haven't been doing that. This is the most recent one.
Okay.
Has it changed?
They do, they change them.
Okay, I know they change them every once in a while, but like.
They are changing, and Julie, you're always
This
Julie.
one was
knows too.
updated recently,
Yes.
August 21st.
Whoa, where are you?
The pink one on the second one.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Then. Okay, I need more than that. There we go. Okay, here you go. They actually, that was something I was sharing with the upper grades. They have increased the cut scores for science math because kids were performing really well in science math, and then we had star failures. And so they're increasing the cut scores to, like, if they're gonna show mastery, they have to have a much higher score. So they do change it, they do adjust them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so on.
So while Alana is formatting that Excel spreadsheet, I'm gonna show you where you can pull tier 2 goals from, because we don't need to just make them up in our head. We have a system that will do it for us and tell us what our kids need to work on. So if you go to the waffle, reports, go down to Plano assessments, and you're gonna do class by RIT. I'm gonna use Alana as an example. And make sure you have the subject selected over here. It always defaults to reading. Hit the green play button, and here are her kids. Now, I know we are going to consider math M class. And M class does give us a more detailed, in-depth look at these kids. But this would be a place where I don't have that data yet. What can I start working on with them? So I'll get with you in just a second, Alana. I see that you need help.
I'm like, I don't know what to do next.
So like, let's say if I'm gonna look at these kids right here, because I would be looking at foundational skills at this time of the year, right? You know, maybe if I move further along, I might move down into the more advanced comprehension skills. But right now, we're in unit 1, wrapping up unit 1. If I just click in here, it's gonna tell me the TEKs that those children need to work on over here on this side. And so I would just pull my MAP goal from this. Rachel, you're probably familiar with doing this in SPED. Yes.
Okay, so you want me to do them by the RIT score?
Yeah, so
Okay.
sort your whole thing. Did you just, was that all the kids? Or did you delete off a
No,
bunch?
so I just did one class at a time, because that's all I could, I get. I can only do it one class at a time, so like I've got Briggs Prim, and then I'm just
Okay.
gonna copy them
Yeah,
over into ours.
Do you want the cut sheet again?
Yes, please. Wait, did you share it with me?
Yes.
There you go, I got it.
Yeah, so sort it by RIT score. And then I would highlight, go into approaches a little bit, go
Mhm.
about 2 or 3 points into approaches
Okay.
and highlight those kids. And then for the purposes of today, we could find an area to work on them until you have your M class data.
Okay, Carrie, can you come here?
Yes.
So this real high student I have, so I click on
This is
him.
like your, to look at.
Okay, so first grade.
He has nothing because there isn't a T right there, so like he's so high he needs to go into second grade.
No, third grade, nothing. Fourth grade, nothing.
What was his overall red score?
238.
So,
Wow.
so this is math.
Because
Something.
he's got he's gotta have
757.
something.
So I went, okay, so if I can
Means
read
is
down.
166
Okay.
and masters.
I have to first
Are
grade.
you looking at
And
the,
then over is it
Are you looking
ticking
at
over to the
well,
arithmetic?
167?
It's,
Anything
yeah,
above
it's going up in a
167
higher
would be
range. It's
masters.
definitely not gonna be anything.
Okay, so maybe go.
So then
Oh, it's
maybe
gonna maybe go to like
Oh.
third grade.
Well, I was
wonder
thinking
you're
about
like-
it too.
you're like-
Well, no, I was
Like,
thinking about it too.
yeah.
So, okay,
That's what I was thinking.
so 157
Yeah,
is
so
the
why, but
sorry,
why don't you go
158 is
back,
versus
so go
157.
back to
So
go down
anything through
here
170.
and see, maybe he doesn't need anything in numerical representations, he's
Yeah.
got that. There you go. Oh, third grade.
You wanna pull a small group?
Maybe, I mean, see, does third grade align with your math? Could he go and attend a third grade small group? I mean, that's what he's,
That's an upper management.
I think so. Like,
What did you say?
he's so high performing that his lowest strand would be in third grade.
I know.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, maybe during I&E time, he goes and does a Richmond in third grade.
I think that would be a great
That
idea.
is so cool.
I think that would be awesome.
That
I mean,
is
that's what-
so cool.
That's
Yeah.
giving him what
I've
he
never
needs.
heard of kids being able to do that. Like,
We've had that in the past. I don't remember a lot of kids, but
Like where we would have a group together of kids
Because
who were.
you're not gonna be, like, he's gonna be in his own enrichment group. Because he's
Mm-hmm.
already showing mastery of first and second grade
You
teams.
might just need to go with like Perez, cause she'll be
Yeah.
in the Richmond group.
Well,
but
she'll be in fifth.
she'll be in fifth.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
but then I have another one, 224.
You guys have some high kids.
I'm doing
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
See that?
Jeez. Those two boys need to be together.
Who is it? Oh,
Ronzi
Ronzi.
and Chivich.
Okay.
Oh,
It's okay. Are you okay, Lana?
I think I'm doing
Okay. So while Lana's formatting that, look at your class by red and think of your kids. I mean, you can probably tell, if you wanna see, I'll show you their cut score here. But I'd be looking here, in parentheses is what their overall RIT score is, and then this is putting them where they sit in that strand. So, excuse me, for reading, I would focus here, but again, we're gonna use a lot of M-class for this. So math, and you can't provide intervention on something you haven't taught yet. So when it comes to math, I'm gonna stay right here in numerical representations and relationships. I'm not gonna do anything in geometry, I'm not gonna do anything in data analysis, that's second semester, I'm not intervening. I'm only gonna intervene right here. So I would be looking at, okay, what could I do right there?
Yeah. And,
Like this.
reminds me, if, we're probably not there yet, but if they are in the did not meets, they get a tier.
They get a student support plan, yes, which is your tier 2 intervention.
Tier 2, not tier 3.
Yeah, if we are, well, some might be considered tier 3 depending on like they're the outlier in comparison to the rest of your class. Yes, you might have a tier 3. Someone who you're gonna meet one-on-one with maybe for 10 minutes a couple days a week. I've had that before. But also, if we're not making progress in our tier 2 goal, then we're going to tier 3.
And is there any kind of, regulations for like tier 3 at Han? Cause I know at other schools that I've worked at, you can't do one-on-one. Tier 3 still needs to be a small group, but if you only have one tier 3,
I have done one-on-one before.
one-on-one, okay.
I mean, so for an example, I had a 3rd grader who couldn't read. And her reading level was like a D, where my next one was an M. I'm not gonna put her in the M group, right? So she got one-on-one, she got her own reading group, and it was smaller, it was only 10 minutes because she was getting one-on-one.
Yeah,
But I think that's appropriate if there's such a big difference between the next group of kids,
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if it's just like a couple levels, I would put them together. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's gonna challenge them.
But
You
if
know.
there's a huge
Yes.
discrepancy, yeah. Especially like considering language.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, cool, thanks.
So where are you guys right now in your math? What are you doing with the kids?
We're doing Make 10 and then knowledge of the equal sign.
Mine aren't sped. I'll still
So do you know the teak off the top of your head?
every day.
You don't have them memorized.
So
Julie.
sorry. Failure.
Well, so would it be this, compose 10 with 2 or more
Yes.
add-ins?
Yes.
So, right now I'm making observational data. Could that be what you're gonna provide intervention on? Cause I'm sure that you're gonna have some that aren't grasping it right away, that aren't showing mastery, yeah.
Mhm.
And so I would you can actually do this. You can copy them, hit copy, and then paste in the spreadsheet that Alana's making.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So then that makes me wonder, ability component and their stations. You know, so if all of those are in the comprehension and they do that first, it's just easier.
It's easier to manage it, I think that way, but, yeah.
Cause
It's
that's
not
what
Is he doing okay over that?
think
Because they can.
She's putting the reading in there because she can run the full.
Yeah.
But when I go for that station, I can
So,
get all.
I just wanna make sure that I'm doing this the way that
different a
you
little bit.
need it to be done.
One person's doing something different and the other doing the odd, it's hard.
Will you come
Yes.
make sure I got this
Or
right?
they'll, do it kind of need to do
Yep.
stations
So-
like.
Yeah, it can be that simple.
So
Okay.
It really can. These are all sorted.
These are, yeah.
So
and they're
I
all-
would take off anyone who's in Strive or Elevate if they happen to show up.
Okay.
I don't think so.
And then and this is all of our, does not meet kind of
How
approaches.
many do you have?
Cause I'm not,
But this is a bunch of our approaches, like it's,
Yes.
cause it's anything 170 and below does not meet your approaches.
So then now we would wanna consider, and like I was just talking to Julie, maybe
If I did.
this is what we're focusing on with maybe half of those kids.
Uh-huh.
What I would like.
1.3C, cause she said that's what you're in right now. But you're also doing AMC, so that's gonna give you some information too. And then, cause this goes in, no, this one does not go in order, I was gonna say it goes in order. But we wouldn't be skip counting yet, right? So no skip counting goal. So those top 2, we would not skip count.
No.
So some might need to go back to pictures, objects, and expanded, right?
So we're not even doing that yet,
So,
cause that's in our place value unit.
okay, so you're just 1.3C, are you in any of these right now, these teaks?
We're in-
Generate a number greater,
No.
generate a number.
No, we're in
Okay,
only.
So then I think 1.3C down the page for everyone. And then as you're working through this lesson, some might not need this. Some might show mastery of it, and then you would,
So, like, because we have so many high kids, we should be focusing on comparing word problems, instead of just doing the joining and subtracting. So, do you do number, okay, never mind.
We're
Yeah.
trying to utilize our math block more because we have like 30-25 minutes for a whole group math lesson. They go to specials, they come back and it's stations, right? What, small group we can differentiate, but that block of whole group, I know I can't speak for everybody, but my group is just off task. The time of the day, they're just not engaged.
and probably because
They
they've
already know it.
already know
They already
it.
know it. So
Yeah.
we're trying to figure how to like stay in our lane, but then also like you were saying, like if the teak is word problems and joining numbers, amping it up,
Yeah, I think so.
right?
Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah.
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 Or
Just bring
vertically
it all
aligned,
together.
what is the second grade teak that's vertically aligned to that? Or look, you look over here, so these are your learning continuums, this is what they're ready to learn. So where are those kids, we wouldn't look here because we're looking at our kids who performed the lowest, but like, let's go up here, let's look at Mr. Lineberry. he's ready to start decomposing numbers within 100.
Mhm.
So like, this is where you would look if you wanted to extend your kids, because this is what they're ready to learn. This is what they need to focus on, this is what they're ready to learn.
So I'm just seeking clarification, are we getting permission to veer out of our own?
We have to grow them.
Like,
up.
well, we have,
Well,
we
I-
have to,
yeah.
we have to, but I'm just, like, devil's advocate, like, we've been told so many times.
Well,
So
MAP
you're
is
like-
telling you this is their learning continuum.
And that's what I did last year, and that's why my tier ones grew, like, but I also did it knowing full well that I might get a slap on the hand for it, like,
Well, I think
It
we
was-
need to first know that they are showing mastery,
Mhm.
right? And then for me, I'm gonna look at this learning continuum. MAP is telling me he's ready to learn this.
Okay.
And so this is what I would enrich my kids with.
cool, okay.
I mean, if you saw the proof in the pudding last year
Mhm.
that you did that with your quintile one and they grew. So like we're saying, we're reflecting on instructional practices from last year. What worked last year,
Yeah.
that worked.
So how would you whole group, would you flex whole group teach? And like you're on this spreadsheet, you're doing all your quintile 1s, 2s, 3s.
You mean, like teaching tier one in small group?
You're talking INE time.
I'm for
Talking about
math.
whole group.
Whole
math.
group math is
okay.
just a waste of time right now. So we're thinking if we're grouping them based on like map or RIT or whatever.
Could you like flip and do like whole group with your one kids that, and then the other kids are maybe in stations and then flip and then they get instruction?
Mm.
The only thing is like, cause I hear Ginger
I was
deep in
gonna
my,
say
in my
that.
head, and she is totally against tier one being taught in small group.
Mhm.
Because you class your kids. They never hear another kid's strategy or something like that. And she's against that. But I mean, let's look at the unique situation here. We have a very high performing group of kids in math. How are we gonna support them and help them grow? We have to be creative.
And for planning, I don't want to have Julie having to pull.
Flex group.
Yeah, that's so that could be a thing.
Yes, you can do that. We did that in 3rd grade, and I think the 3rd grade team still does that. We did it we saw a need in behavior, but we also saw we had a very large group of kids that were still struggling, and so we still gave tier one instruction, 15 minutes, right? You do your number talks, you do your lesson in Envision, and then we divided up and the kids went to different classrooms to get what they needed. So we had like an enrichment classroom, we had an intervention classroom, and then we had an on-grade level 2 classrooms, because the majority of our kids were on-grade
Was
level.
that considered your IE time?
No, we did that in our math time.
For small groups.
For like, yeah.
So it was another whole group.
But it wasn't small, yeah, it was like another whole group, but it was in a whole group on what they needed. We kind of stopped small groups, we were just experiencing too much behavior. And so we used class by RIT and groups the kids and.
So it's like a mega small group.
Yeah, like mega small group, but they were, and it's actually nice because they were going and they were gonna go and be with the kids on their level and get extension in the unit. And then because it needed intervention, our sped teacher was in there with that teacher supporting that, and that was a smaller group, it was only like 15. You guys have a really small group, and maybe Miss Madden can be there during that time, and whoever that person is that does the intervention group, because you're probably gonna be coming back to, it might be your tier 2 kids that are all in that room, and
Yeah.
we're all working on that goal together, right?
Yeah, you could get real jiggy with this. And like,
Absolutely. I think we have to trust ourselves as professionals that we know what's best for our kids and
Yeah.
and
Well,
do what's right for
we
them.
don't want them to be bored, and then that's when
I don't think
behavior
any
happens.
parent is going to argue like, don't give my child enrichment or don't help support my child who's struggling. And so I think that that's okay to do
Well,
that.
We also,
I'll let the assistant principals right here so they can tell me if I'm wrong on that.
They're gonna get a force.
I mean,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
cool, cool.
I'm along the same line.
They're just flexible grouping
Yeah.
after, so do like your tier 1, so everyone got that lesson, take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you divide up and everyone goes, how fun that they get to go to another teacher.
Well, and just the
You know?
planning perspective of like, we're doing this, we might as well use it
Mhm.
to where we can plan based on their level and then provide resources to that teacher.
Were you a
on that
math
level.
resource teacher or were you both math and reading?
No, I was LA.
Okay.
Yeah, but so I'm used to planning 18 different lesson
Mhm.
plans. But if we are all doing that, to me, it's like we're kind of wasting time.
Yeah, so
Because
you
then-
got have a teacher that's gonna do
Yeah.
enrichment, and
You
it's
just have to
probably
be,
gonna be a
like,
big class.
very
Well, I was gonna say,
timely,
we're,
like,
Yeah.
you know, you can't
When
have
we
kids
fl-
waiting for another
Yeah.
group, and, I mean, everyone just has to.
when
Everyone's
we
gotta be
flexed at my old
fluent,
school,
yeah.
we had, it was a different population, and so like, of the four of us, two of us were the does not meets, and those were two big groups, whereas it got smaller as it went up. Here it's like,
Three,
we're gonna have,
three high groups, one.
and we're gonna have one, like, and we can take turns with that, we can, you know, all of that stuff, but I was just, I'm looking at, you guys, this is